All right, look
here.
Here is the main issue with the Gorosei, okay? Slow and old.
Slow and old.
Are the Gorosei just a bunch of overhyped old dudes? Like, you have these old school wrestlers, Ric Flair and the Cats, they're coming in well past their prime, thinking that they can just perform at the same level as the young dudes.
Oh, hell no.
Is that the Gorosei? Are the Gorosei nasty or are they not? Saturn's coming real soon, and sooner rather than later we're gonna see, hey, you know, we're in the end game of this series right now. So the Gorosei in the near future gotta be doing something nasty if they truly are fiends. So here's what we know so far that we kind of gauge off of like power for the Gorosei, and it's honest to God just all portrayal. So number one, obviously they're the highest ranking celestial dragons, so that might mean something-ish.
Maybe.
Number two is that some of them have scars on their bodies, and these scars kind of look like battle scars. So that's like one of the big things here, where they are marked up. Number three, Gandhi has a sword. Whoa, he is clearly not the peacekeeper that he is in our world, and this could be the famed supreme grade blade of the Katetsu swords. So yeah, that could be the case here, where he actually can use that sword. It's not just like a prop. It's like a genuine, this is a badass, where's my sword, yo? This is a badass saber, and it sheens with disgusting levels of hockey. Maybe, who knows? Or a different ability. Who knows? Maybe. Number four is that, of course, in the Ohara flashback, chapter 395. Their figures look similar to as they are now. And it's hard to tell because how they're drawn in the anime and also as well as in the manga. But how they're animated or how they're drawn, it kind of looks like they do look the same back then as they do now, which is wild. We do know that some characters can like retain a lot of their appearances. For example, someone like Shaki, she looks very, very good for her age. It is what it is. Sometimes characters have the bad age ups, like let's say Miss Buckin. Other times you have Shaki who looks like muy bueno. So maybe it's that. But honest to God, in their case, it appears that they just look the same, even though that was decades ago. Then number five is that, and this is where things kind of get more of, let's say, like on the negative spin here, in chapter 433, when Shanks breaks through their naval line and is gonna meet Whitebeard, instant sweat. I mean, what in the way? Shanks is meeting Whitebeard, and this for them is a big no. This is not good by any measure. And it's the same kind of energy at the tail end of Dressrosa when they find out that Luffy and Law took down Don Quixote do Flamingo in chapter 793. The Gorosei with the very pointy mustache, no way, sweat, it can't be all that brat once again. If it weren't for these meddling kids, all that stuff. These guys sweat when major players make moves. It is what it is. Number six, though, they are willing to meet with Shanks in 907 when Shanks wants to talk about a certain pirate, and the Gorosei aren't pissing on themselves when they're in the presence of the God King. That's impressive. Green Bull, amazing. Hands up, don't shoot. But Shanks, oh wait, hold on. Okay, Shanks, we'll give you our time. Now, obviously, there's context to this, but the fact of the matter is that Shanks was there, cloak and dagger, Sly Cooper and Thieves style, and they gave Shanks their time, which you can argue is a plus for both Shanks and the Gorosei, but mainly the focus here is the Gorosei, obviously. And then let's say the last thing here would be Lulusia Kingdom, where the entire thing, of course, gets obliterated, and the primary individual who made that call was most likely Emu, but there's a chance that the Gorosei also had some sort of say in the annihilation of Lulusia Kingdom. And if that's the case, then theoretically, whatever destroyed Lulusia Kingdom could also be controlled, commanded, whatever, by the Gorosei themselves. In theory. Again, most likely Emu, but in theory, the Gorosei could also click on the big red button and things go kaboom. That's really it when it comes to how I can perceive the Gorosei in terms of their portrayal. For me, I would say, honest to God, just considering the fact that these guys sweat just the meetup between Shanks and Whitebeard, I can't really say that these people are genuinely strong individuals. I really cannot. Especially to the point where some folks want to believe that someone like Saturn is gonna hop on Agate Island and just clap Luffy. The same way Kaido destroyed Luffy at the beginning of Wano Country. This is Saturn.
No.
Luffy is to the point now where there is a very small pool of individuals that should be able to even give him a hard time, let alone beat him. Honestly, like, we're at that stage now. And whenever someone in this tiny pool of people does anything, the Gorosei tend to defecate themselves. They need towels just as much as me.
Crazy.
So
I don't
think Saturn's that dude to just clap Luffy. I really don't. The main reason why Saturn's there is, I think, pretty obvious. Pacifista. The Gorosei have the highest authority rank out of anyone so far, because in theory, maybe Dragon can match them, in theory, of course, but the Gorosei have the highest authority when it comes to commanding all the Pacifista. You have the Mark III Pacifista, you have the Seraphim Pacifista, so the idea ultimately is, hey, we basically can control these new super androids that are gonna be essentially souped up versions of the Shichibukai, the warlords. Yeah. Let's go grab them right now, and let's bolster our military might to the next level. And unlike the warlords of the past, we can control them at will. We don't have to worry about Momonga going Amazon Lily and stabbing himself constantly to undo Boy Hancock's ability. The Gorosei Saturn doesn't have to lift a finger, and he's going to bolster the military force of the world government in spades. But no, he has to blitz Luffy. He has to just demolish Luffy. He has to pin him down. Been a long time, Nika. Like, they want this Nika to go through American History X treatment.
That's no good.
And when you look at other things in the story, like, for example, the reason why they don't fear Shanks can harken all the way to chapter 233, where the Gorosei literally say that Shanks could cause a lot of damage, but they don't think that his ambitions include world conquest. And this is something that's repeated time and time again, and shown time and time again when it comes to Shanks. Shanks is the world balancer in so many ways on so many fronts. We see it in the Road to Laugh Tale Volume 2, where they literally say in that one volume, he is someone that tries to maintain the world balance. That's Shanks. So in their minds, while they want to sweat Shanks, when he's ultimately here to talk. And then also, it's not just the Gorosei's relationship, let's say, people like the Yonko, well, at least Shanks, but also it's their relationship to, let's say, the Admirals, where the Admirals are typically the ones that have to protect the celestial dragons and the Gorosei themselves. We see Kizaru essentially being Saturn's butler, and he's giving him drinks, making sure that he's being fanned appropriately so it's not too hot. Even having his boys make sure that the drink isn't poisoned so Saturn's good to go. In chapter 303, one of the Gorosei talks about Aokiji, Kuzan, and how he is the greatest power in the Navy. Later on, it's stated in 319 by Robin that the government calls the Admirals the ultimate military force of the world government. So it's hard-pressed to believe, based on what they say in the story, that the Admirals would be inferior to the Gorosei. It'll kind of kill the idea of the world government as a whole, Marines, Cypher Pole, and so on and so forth, not being able to have a strong foothold in the new world, where the Yonko rule as emperors, formerly Kaido, Big Mom, Whitebeard, and Shanks. If that was the case, if these guys were just as nasty, then they would be able to lead military forces and just take over the new world. If they were nastier than the Admirals, honest to God, if they were nastier than the Admirals, you would think that they could actually pull that off. leading admirals in tow against Yonko forces. But they don't do that. They even at one point in time believed that the person who was going to stop Blackbeard's rise to power was going to be Marco. If they were that nasty, why don't they do that? They're relying on Marco. Marco. The one... I'm not trying to dunk on Marco. He's a good dude. But ultimately, you can argue it is indicative of how powerful the Gorosei are, where they can't stop someone who has broken the historic norm of having one devil fruit and has two of the most busted abilities in the story. But the Gorosei, Marco's probably got him. And also, when it comes to their wounds, honestly, that could have been a one incident thing where, for example, here's an idea that I did hear about, where they could have gotten their wounds on God Valley. What if all the Gorosei that we see today were at God Valley, and then Rox D. Sebek went to God Valley for X, Y, and Z reason, and in the process, these Gorosei got tagged, marked up by Rox D. Sebek, and all their wounds came from that one individual, or let's say his clique.
Maybe.
That is possible. Keep in mind that even though these wounds look bad, doesn't necessarily mean that they're true battle scars when they were fighting tooth and nail against these tough opponents centuries ago. It doesn't have to be the case at all. Though what I will say is that I don't see them being like completely useless. And this is beyond the Gandhi Gorosei having the supposed supreme grade Kitetsu blade. That might mean something for his skills, but just simply wielding a supreme grade blade doesn't then make you a top tier individual. Oda could have Tashigi wield Yoru for 2 chapters. That doesn't mean that for that time span, she's stronger than Zoro, let alone going into my top 10. They're probably old, probably slow, but not entirely useless. Because I do wonder, how is it that they could have the same appearance in the Ohara flashback as they do now? That is a big mystery. And of course, we all know about the immortality surgery of the OP no Mi. And Doflamingo was craving that, and he needed that for something involving some secret or some weapon that involved the Holy Land Celestial Dragon stuff. And if these, let's say, Gorosei are immortal in some respects, that could be a big deal, where they themselves are not necessarily strong, but they have unique abilities that actually make them effective in some way. And again, that could, let's say, be them being immortal. That would be interesting, because how do you deal with an immortal person? I mean, I guess like in JoJo's Part 2, you could send them flying into deep space, and then eventually they'll stop thinking. Like what happened to Cars. Yeah, fair enough. I guess maybe one day we'll see Luffy Gum Gum Bazooka a Gorosei so hard, so heavy, so fast that they literally go catapulting into deep space. But this is ultimately where I put my foot down. Until I see them do something, anything of like heavy notoriety when it comes to their combat abilities and skills, I'm gonna simply say that they may have some unique abilities and aspects that make them somewhat credible, but they still need the protection of folks like CP0. They still need the protection of the Admirals, what they deem to be the greatest power in the Navy. Because even though they may have some unique abilities, they are not as strong as an Admiral or like a high-tier Cypher Pole Aegis Zero agent. That's what I'm gonna say again for the time being. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I'd argue most of the evidence so far kind of points in that direction rather than these guys individually being as strong as someone like a Kingu. Let alone someone like Kaido. Oh. Yeah. I need to see a lot. I gotta see a lot for them to be on that level.